the legendary hero Ashi, leading on a quest to defeat Baramos and Zoma, to be free, to have victory in Dragon Quest 3. What's up, guys? It is JZNES back again with another game. Today we're playing some Dragon Quest 3 on the Game Boy Color there. The other two were technically... Yeah, I think you could technically play those on the Game Boy because they weren't the Game Boy Color cartridge with little bump or whatever. But yeah, now we're moving it up. It's on the GBC. This is the OST for Dragon Quest 3. No, just kidding. Anyway, so yeah, Dragon Quest 3 on the Game Boy Color there. You know, it's called Dragon Warrior, of course, on the Game Boy Color there. But so is this cartridge. Well, yeah. Anyway. And they released it, of course, on the iOS, and I always say iOS, the mobile, as it is. And then it's on the Switch and stuff there. But I played the second version, well, the third version, technically. Did they make this again for Famicom? Super Famicom, that is? I don't know. The other two had remakes, and that was what their Game Boy ports were based on. But I'm not sure if this one did have a remake on the Super Famicom or not. But anyway, so... yeah, I've got a lot of history with Dragon Quest 3 here. I mean, I got a lot of history with the first two, but this one also has some history behind it. My experience with playing this, and I think I've told this on some other videos, maybe some of the Let's Plays, or I think I told this in my top 100 games video or something like that. When I talked about Dragon Quest 3, well, I hope it was on that list anyway. I can look that up here in a second. But so anyway, I've got this kind of tale about Dragon Quest 3. See, back in the day, I was kind of eternally grounded for like a good number of years. I don't even remember what started it all, but it kept being perpetuated by me constantly going and taking back all my game systems, because I was just a kid. What the fuck was I supposed to do other than play video games? Video games are my passion. They're my whole life, you know? You can see now, you know, I review a game every week. That's in part because of my passion as a kid for playing video games. So, yeah. And so my mom, well, okay, so I played Dragon Quest 3 as a kid. I got it after Dragon Quest 1 and 2, and I don't believe I had 8 at this point. But, oh wow, fuck, I put Dragon Quest 3 above Dragon Quest 2. I mean, that's where it belongs, rightfully, but it's like number 60 on my games list. I don't know if it'd be higher or lower these days, but it's, we'll get into it in a minute here. But anyway, point being that back in the day, I had this game, the Game Boy Color version, of course, because I loved Dragon Quest 1 and 2, and those were great games, and I don't think the 4 and 5 and all of those had been released yet, as far as I remember. So, so it was early to, you know, like maybe 2004 or something. I don't know. It was a little bit after I'd played the other games. So, but I got Dragon Quest 3, and this was in this state of being eternally grounded, essentially. But the thing is, I would always go back and take my stuff back. I don't know if I said that or not. That's important. So I'd always go and find where it was hiding. You know, one time my mom had it in her trunk, and I would go and try to get into that and try to get my stuff back. Sometimes it was in a room. Eventually, they got good and put it all in my dad's place, you know, which was across town or whatever. It's still within walking distance, so I still remember I would still, you know, after school or something, still go over there, take my stuff back, you know, but they got crafty. So this all compounded on my long and epic journey through Dragon Quest 3, playing it intermittently through this whole period of being really grounded or whatnot, and just playing it kind of in secret, you know, on the side, and saw all forever. It felt like that game took me forever, because it really did. I guarantee you I put at least 50 to 60 hours into that original playthrough, just like grinding and trying to figure out what to do and stuff. So, yeah, so here I am, getting through the game, taking months, maybe even years, I don't know, long time to get through this game, because I had to play it so intermittently and kind of in secret and whatnot. And so, I finally get to, spoilers for Dragon Quest III, by the way, I finally get to, not the end dungeon before Baramos, but then there's Zoma afterwards. He becomes the real villain, or whatever. He's like, oh, he's a real villain! No. He probably has stopped a real bad guy before. Or a good guy before. Anyway, so, he kind of comes in at the end after you think that you've won to... There's a whole, like, second quest. It's not really, like, that long of a second quest, but you get to go back to the world from Dragon Quest 1, and, there's a miniaturized version of it in Dragon Quest 2, Olive Guard there. And this is when you kind of figure out, like, hey, this is a prequel, and you're playing as Lodo, the hero, from the first game, whose armor you're taking, or Erdrick, as is, whose armor you're taking, and all that stuff. All this legendary hero that you've heard of in lore in the first two games is now the hero that you are in this game. And so it's really cool. And there's another cool thing about that in a second. I'll get to that in a minute here. But yeah, so there's that second part there. This is at the very end of the game. I got to the final castle, which because of my more recent playthrough, I'll just get to that, I guess. The final castle is a fucking struggle to get through. It is long, and it's not even that it's hard, it's just kind of tedious, because there's a lot of twists and turns, and I finally got it down, because I went through that castle, like, probably 30 or so times this time around. And the worst part of the whole castle is right at the end, or it's kind of in the middle, I think, because there's rooms after that. There's like the first few rooms, and then there's like the twisty turn room, and then there's like this room with all these little things on the floor, and they mess up the controls to where you have to like press the D-pad in different ways. So like down can be up or down can be left or something. It's fucked, man. Like that's the worst, hardest part of the whole game right there, is that room. And they had a room like this before, I think, or something. But those are the things I hate the most about this game, was those goddamn little switch things on the floor there. And often I would just sit there, and those rooms would really... That was the only struggle of getting through there. And they had to, of course, put that in the final castle. But anyway, so the final castle is kind of hard. And before you fight the final boss, not that I would know, because I never got there, I don't believe. Or maybe I did get there. I think I did get there, and that's why this is even worse. Before you fight the final boss, you have to fight 3 mini-bosses before the final boss, 2 of which being more advanced forms. Well, there's like a lesser form, and then a more advanced form of the final boss, Baramos, the final boss, that boss from before, So you have to fight these guys every time. If you die, you fight all 3 of them again. There's a King Hydra, who's the king who kills your father in the opening like cutscene or whatever, and you're kind of on the quest to avenge him or save the world from you think Baramos and then Zoma afterwards. But yeah, this King Hydra killed your father or whatever in this like epic lava battle. And I hope that like graphical intro, I doubt it, but I hope that graphical intro is in the NES version, because it is like one of the coolest parts of the game. You see them like battling on top of the thing, and he's like casting the spell and whatnot. Cast a spell! And then there's like a recreation of it later in the game when you're in the final castle. Like the first time you go through, you see a cutscene of him like in the battle. It's not really a cutscene, it's like a battle version, him fighting that boss and dying to it or whatever, and running out of MP and stuff. It's really cool, actually. I think that's really neat what they did there. Really good way to keep you invested emotionally and really spell out your journey there. Anyway, so you have to fight that King Hydra. You have to fight a lesser form of Baramos. He has about half the HP, but is like moves hit way harder. And he's got like 2 to 3 attacks every turn, and one of his attacks can hit everyone in the thing, and his intense flames can hit him for a ton of damage. And then he's got an attack that just hits you for like 100 and some damage, which is a lot of damage. Now, the only reason these bosses aren't like insanely tough is because right near the end of the game, somewhere in Alfgard, you get this thing called the Sage's Stone, which is essentially the Heal Us spell, which gives you each of your allies like 100 HP or whatever as a healing thing. So you'd think like, hey, give this to a non-healer, but that's not really how it works. I gave it to my healer to heal my party, and it basically was just like her not having to use MP, which is really helpful. So yeah, that is a godsend, that Sage's Stone. But anyway, so you have to go through that, and then you get to the final boss, and you still have to fight the final boss. I still haven't found out how much HP Zoma has, because I have no fucking clue. I look on the internet, everywhere it's question marks, and nobody cares to tell me how much exactly HP he has. And guess what? If you don't have the light orb in your equipment, you're kind of fucked. So, yeah, that's a thing. Because he hits harder and stuff without it. But when you have the light orb, you can just hold it up, and it's a Dragon Quest tradition, which kind of started here, I guess. They do it 8 and a bunch of other Dragon Quests where you have to have, like, this item that, like, takes down the invincibility of this, like, final boss or whatever. So, yeah, so I got all the way to the final boss through this hard dungeon and through the whole rest of the game. And I was playing late into one of the nights, and this was, you know, one of these epic gaming nights I used to have. I used to be a night owl, not sleep that much. I can't really do that anymore because of my job or whatever. But I was playing late into the night one night, and then my mom comes in and finds out that I have my stuff. And this is after many of times of taking this stuff back. And this was kind of the final straw, I suppose. Oh, I should have brought out my Game Boy Color. This might have been how okay, I have 2 theories on this, because I can't remember because it was a long time ago. Now, I have this special edition, silver Pichu Game Boy Color that, well, no, see, because I had it on my SP, that's what it was. Yeah, I was playing it on my SP at the time, right. So that doesn't make any sense. So but anyway, I think that, because what happened was, my mom took it back, obviously. And so my you know, 100 hours of Dragon Quest 3 save file there was gone, because I never found it. I went and looked, and she looked, or whatever, but it was kind of the final straw, I think. What I think happened was that she sold that and the game and all of that back to the store, so did something with it, or just got rid of it somehow, because I was being such a nuisance and going and taking it back every time. So I was that close to beating the game back in the day, and I never did. And then maybe 5, 6, 7 years later, about 6 or 7 years later, yeah, at the very end of high school, this was senior year, so like 2011, right? I was replaying Dragon Quest 3 because it was one of the ones that I hadn't beat. And it was just one of these things that had been haunting me all that time, that I had to get through Dragon Quest 3. So I played it on emulation and got all the way to the final boss. And I remember that I had stayed up all night, like getting through the dungeon and all of that, and grinding and stuff. And I was not having it, like I couldn't go to school. I didn't want to go to school, and so what I did was, I had this whole other incident where I skipped school one time to play video games, and it was actually Metal Gear Solid 2 of all games. And I got in a lot of trouble for that time, but what ended up happening was, my mom was like, you know, if you ever need a day where you just, like, don't want to go to school or something, we'll make up an excuse, you know, so you don't have to, like, do this in the future, just skip school and not tell any of us or whatever. So I'm like, alright. I stored that in the back of my head. Like 2 years later, I finally pulled that one out. I'm like, you said that one time. And I'm like, you know, there's nothing really that important going on today. I just really, I need to stay home. And I don't know if I told her to beat this game or what. But I'm like, can you cover for me? Pretend I'm sick or something. And she did. To her credit, she did. So it kind of comes full circle. She helped me beat the game in a sense, if you want to think of it like that. So I stayed home that day, and you know, like an hour or so later, I beat Dragon Quest 3 finally for the first time on emulation there, which is kind of fucked because I've never actually beaten the original cartridge. But guess what? Now I have. So there you go. Yeah, that's right. My save file made it through, and it didn't corrupt or die this time. The battery's fine. I made it through Dragon Quest 3 on the cartridge, finally. It's awesome. I did it, you know? So, yes, I beat the game. John actually beat a game for once. No, I mean, I beat Rocket Knight and whatever else. And also, Super Mario Land 2, they put it on the hardest level in Mario's list. That one guy made that 20 top hardest levels in Mario's list video. That fucking castle at the end or whatever. So, fuck it. It's hard, alright? There's no checkpoints or nothing. It's bullshit. Anyway, not talking about that. We're talking about Dragon Quest 3. So that's my story with that game. I finally beat it, and I finally re-beat it now. I don't know if I ever tried really after high school to beat it, so like, okay, so that was like 10 years ago when I beat it. Now I beat it again, and I'm really happy I did, because this is a fantastic Dragon Quest game. Out of the 3 that I've played so far, it's objectively the best one. It's tough for me, because I really like Dragon Quest 1, and I did put that a lot higher on my top games list, because it means a lot more to me. But thinking about it and being objective about it, this is the better game by far. And Dragon Quest 2 is arguably better than Dragon Quest 1, but like, you know, it's a good enough game. But this is like a really good game because they did some really innovative things and pushed the genre forward, and it's really pretty awesome. So let's start at the beginning. The beginning of the game, it gives you a really interesting thing. So far, in Dragon Quest games, the first game is just you. That's it. The second game, you have 2 other party members, so it's a 3-party system. That's not very standard for RPGs, but that happens sometimes. They did that in Dragon Quest 7 as well, and it was just kind of determined characters is there as well. But in Dragon Quest 3, this is really innovative. Not that Final Fantasy didn't do this already, I know, but this felt better, and it was much more a better progression of this system from Final Fantasy. I don't remember when Dragon Quest 3 actually came out, but I think it was around the same time as Final Fantasy, so a lot of people were doing this around the same time. Anyway, point is, you get to actually make your party in this one. So you get to start off, and you have a list of classes. It's like warrior, cleric, mage, let's see. Oh yeah, the goof off or the jester sort of character. Hold on, where's the? Here we go. Okay. So yeah, and your hero is a character too. He's kind of just, he or she is kind of just their own sort of thing. So yeah, warrior, fighter. So okay, so there's a warrior class which is like you get more defensive. The fighter class is more offensive in a sense. So that's really the difference between those, but they're essentially the same class where you don't really learn any moves or anything. You just kind of that's sort of the only difference. But either way, you're pretty good to have one of those. And I'll get into that in a second. So there's the cleric, you know, the healer kind of class, mage or wizard. The dealer class, which is an interesting class. It actually, like, they get you more money, and you can like evaluate items and stuff. And they get you more rare drops, etc., etc. So it's kind of an interesting class, and they're not as strong as like a warrior, but they're still pretty good. they actually have a really cool ability called Shop Call, which basically, I think, I don't know, I never got it, and I'll get into that in a second, but it gets you a shop or an inn or all of that, like, to your wherever you are, so you can just heal at like an inn anytime without having to waste all your MP, which is like fucking excellent. And I really want that class next time I go through this game, but I'll get into that in a second. And then there's the Jester character, Goof-Off character. They have no good abilities, and they're literally gonna just be a pain every time in battle. They don't rarely ever listen to you. Like, they won't attack, they won't do anything, they'll just goof off the whole time. So it's basically a worthless character. But what's cool is there's advanced classes in this game, which you can only get to by having certain classes. One of them being the Sage, which is the most powerful class, and the other one being the Thief, which is another really powerful class, which I didn't use. But and I think to get the Thief, you have to be like a dealer or something like that. I don't know. Pretty sure that's how that works. Anyway, so the Sage is one of those powerful classes because it combines the Cleric and the Mage class into one class, and you get all of the moves from both. So yeah, there's a new system in this game, which is switching classes. But the downside to switching classes is it halves your HP and MP stats. Okay, fair enough. And it also puts you back to level 1. So I mentioned this in the Dragon Quest IX video, how I hate that in Dragon Quest IX. And there it really is implemented pretty badly. But I'm going to give Dragon Quest III the pass, because this is a super innovative system for the time. This is such big brain shit for the NES. And this is in the NES version. I know it because I had a whole strategy guide up, and I was like really thinking about changing classes at one point. And I did change over to the Sage like I always do, but I wanted to do more than that. So here's my recommendation, alright? And check, if you're going to play this game, check out the strategy wiki beforehand for this game. And it has a basic setup for, like, party structure, in a sense. And it'll give you some really good suggestions on how you want to progress changing your classes or whatever. And I think that's really important, because what I recommend is everyone start off with a merchant so you can get that shop call ability, because it's really good. But well, okay, here's the hard part. The strategy wiki says that you should just, like, have a merchant. So either you build some stats through, like, a soldier character, or have, like, maybe a cleric turn into a merchant. I think that's what they kind of recommended, was that you turn your cleric into a merchant. Hold on, let me look at this party thing here. So, right, they tell you to turn your cleric into a wizard or a thief, and then turn it into the merchant class, because the merchant class gets you extra gold and stuff at the end of the game. And that is really kind of necessary. Not necessary, but it's very, very helpful to have extra gold and better drops and stuff. There's certain items that you can only get off of, like, enemies. Like, there's the cat suit, which is a cool thing from Dragon Quest XI, but I always forget that it's actually from Dragon Quest III, almost, I think, exclusively from Dragon Quest III, and it actually changes your sprite on the overworld to your character being in a cat suit, which is awesome, and I love that. And I always had, was it Veronica or whatever, is that her name? Or was she, right, because Serena was her older sister, even though she was the older sister. Veronica, the little short girl from Dragon Quest XI, right? I always had her in the cat suit, which I thought was just so funny. But yeah, they have that in this game, and I actually got that off of a rare drop off of an enemy one time, and I just thought that was so cool. And the fact that, like, you can actually have stuff that changes your appearance in this game too is pretty neat. So I like, so okay, let's rein it back a bit. Well, let me explain the class thing first, since I'm already there. So the class thing, so there's, like, Sage, right? You can go to that. And one of the only good purposes of the Jester, you're like, why would you have this Jester or Goof-Off character? Is because the only purpose to that is that when you reach level 20, you have to be level 20 to change your class. When you reach level 20, you can turn that guy immediately into a sage, which is normally a thing that you need this very special book for, which you only get 2 of in the game. One of kind of around the time you can switch classes, and then one like really late into the game in Alfgard. So it's like barely like relevant at that point. So what some people do is they'll take they'll wait until they get to the part where you can change classes, make a jester character, or turn one of their characters into a jester character, and then just level them up to 20 so that they can have them be a sage or whatever. So that's pretty cool. But it's like a really big gamble, because if you're not just doing that and grinding for it. Yeah, actually that's exactly what they're doing in this diagram of this party layout. So they have a hero. The hero is always going to be the hero, even though it's like, it's funny because they have like the what you should turn it into, and it's like hero, hero, hero. It's like you can't do anything with the hero. So the soldier, they suggest you turn it into a jester to turn it into a sage, and then you have a wizard at the beginning, which you turn into a cleric to turn into a fighter. So yeah, that's the real thing. It's like, why wouldn't you just take a cleric, turn him into a wizard, and then do that to get all the spells or whatever? Well, it's because it takes a lot longer to grind all that out, because you don't get like the end game spells until like level 40. But if you're a sage, you're gonna get all of those spells sequentially. I finally got my sage to like the very end spells near the end of the game. My guys were like level 43 and 42-ish, and my sage was like maybe level 40, I think. Or level 39 or something. I finally got him to learn Revive, which is level 38. So that's like really way near the end of the game when you can get Revive finally, which is like a guaranteed revival. Vivifies like your Zing versus your Cousin, where it like only sometimes revives it, and that's really annoying. So yeah, recommended to get it to that. So then we run into that problem. So I do recommend switching classes, and it's a really cool mechanic for the game and a very innovative mechanic. But also, if I want to get my guys up to level like 40 or something to get all the end game spells, that's going to be a big pain in the ass. I'm going to have to grind even more. And I did plenty of grinding in this game as is, and they're wanting me to grind even more and stuff. It's like, alright, well, but I will give this game the point over Dragon Quest IX, because in Dragon Quest IX you can only unlock some of those classes by doing these ridiculous side quests or whatever. And I'm just like, fuck that. Oh, you want me to go kill this enemy with this certain spell just so I can unlock this class? That's really dumb. But this game doesn't do that. You know, you have your extra classes, and you can switch over to whatever classes, and you keep all of your abilities from the previous classes, so you can basically make the best sort of character. And they did a more refined version of this in Dragon Quest VII. Or refined, I don't know. They kind of just did a thing where you would sort of level up whatever... I think that's how it worked. Level up whatever class you were going to, and you didn't have to like start from level 1 again. You just had an overall level, and I think that's the better version of this system. Is just kind of you get to dabble in whatever ability set you want to dabble in, and put in the time, almost like a skill tree in a sense, where you have to grind to get to those abilities, but also you can just be the character that you are. Actually, it's sort of how Final Fantasy works, really. They did it sort of a similar thing in Final Fantasy 6 and 7, where, well, really in 6, where you would kind of learn a move by using it a bunch, and or something to that effect. I don't know. It's kind of similar to that. Anyway. But that's not how it works in this game at all. But you can switch over classes, and that's a big element to this game. I've never really had to do that to get through the game, but it does maybe make the game potentially harder to not do that. So, but that's a big part of the game. It's cool. From the start, you get to make your own characters, roll your own stats. In a sense, you can make them random, or you can put stats into each stat as you see fit. You get like a certain amount of seeds, 5 or something like that, to put into your characters to give them their like base stats. And based on that, it actually gives them a personality type, which, like, I don't remember specifically what it does, but it's kind of like the Pokemon personality type thing, where it like levels them up more in a certain like strength or defense or that kind of thing, like better, you know, like certain stats like that will level up better, luck or something, depending on your personality type, which is just interesting. There's certain ones that are like exclusive to the girl characters, which is like the sexy personality type or whatever, and there's like lots of equipment that only girls can use, but I think there's like maybe some kind of sexist like thing where it's like the girls are weaker than the guys or something. I don't know if that's exactly correct, but there's some kind of... I don't know if that's right or not, but like... It's almost like, why would you not just make all your characters girls so you can equip all of the dresses and the... like, all of the equipment that you can't equip as a guy, but like, I don't know. I don't even think there's that many guy exclusive things. So yeah, you can choose your character gender as well, which is pretty cool. Very big thing for the Dragon Quest series because, except for 4, I think all of the rest of them you can't do that. You just play as the guy. Yeah, other than 9. 9 you can do that, but other than that though, man, you just play as the regular character design like every single time. So it's really innovative that this like lets you choose which gender you want to go with. So of course I chose the girl character, and there's actually a lot of really interesting dialogue, because I've always chose the guy character in this game. Both the other times I played it, I chose the guy character. There's a lot of interesting dialogue based on the fact that you are a girl, and then there's like kind of funny things like the first king will be like, oh, well, you're a girl. Well, okay, that's cool. Like, yeah, awesome. You go get him, girl. Go out there and kill the Draco. Like, you wouldn't get that line. You'd just be like, yes, you're the noble son of Ortega. Go out and fulfill your quest, you know, or something generic like that. But, like, when you're a girl, it gives you, like, different scenario things there. Little different bits of dialogue, and I just think that's really cool. And there's different sprites for each of the boy or girl characters in each of the classes, which is really cool. Very, very neat, you know, kind of stuff. So I made myself a girl. I had my warrior, she was a girl. I had my mage, he was a guy, and then my cleric was a girl. So the mage was the only one who switched classes. He got switched into the sage because the mage class kind of sucks because he's very vulnerable HP wise and attack wise. Actually, the cleric is a very good class because they're very defensive. They're not as defensive as like maybe the soldier or like the hero class or whatever, but for being a magic user, they're pretty defensive, and I think that's really cool. They're not as like squishy as the mage character, and I don't know why he's so squishy to begin with, but yeah, so there's that. But basically, mages and clerics are the only other ones that can turn into sages, as far as I know. Outside of the goof off or the jester class with that book that you have to have, and that's such a limited item anyway. But so yeah, so that's the class system. There's a lot of more nuances and stuff in there, but that's a whole can of worms, you know, which you can look into. And I recommend looking into it before you start the game and before you make your party composition. But, you know, I would recommend maybe the merchant class, and then you can change them into whatever. That way you can get the shop call ability, because that sounds super useful. And I was going to do it, but then I was just like, I don't really want to go back to level 1. And I've already got my sage back to level 1, so it's like, I don't really want to. So I didn't end up doing it. But next time I play this game, I'm certainly going to do that and, like, maybe play with the classes or whatever and really switch it up and stuff. And just, it's going to take a lot longer doing it that way, but it'll maybe be more rewarding having a better, more innovative characters like that and mishmash more of abilities and whatnot, which would be pretty cool. And, like, let's talk about the spells and stuff, like, shit. Like, well, okay, hold on. We'll get to that in a second. What I was going to say was, it's cool how you kind of, it's almost like a D&D sort of thing, where you kind of are making your own characters now. You're rolling your own classes, and that's really neat. You can name them whatever you want, so I named them after my friends. you know, and Mayab, I think, was the only one who ever, like, made it through all of the iterations. I'd always have him in my party as the mage or whatever, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. But, so yeah, I used to name back for my friends back in the day as well, and this is finally the first time you get to name your characters or whatever, so that's pretty neat. So to give you more personal experience. So I think that's cool, and especially because you are the legendary hero Moto, you making your own class and making, well, not making your own class, you making your own party and your own, like, destiny and your own way of going about things is cool, because that means you were the legendary hero all along, you know, whatever kind of character you built or whatever. So that's just really neat. I don't know. I think that's cool. So yeah, man, these tracks, they just go on, do they not? Oh, man, these are so long. Why are they so long? Anyway, let's see, what was I saying? So yeah, that's cool. You kind of get that from the beginning there, and they've added a lot of new sort of weapons and stuff. There's like boomerangs now, and like flails to hit like a bunch of enemies at once, that kind of thing. They added tiny medals to this game, which is like the mini medal system from the later games, where you collect a lot of mini medals and you can get a bunch of rewards for that and stuff. I never really found them all in this one. I have a mini medal guide somewhere in my stack of things over there that I used to use back in the day, but I got enough to get some of the stuff. I didn't like go after every single one or whatever, but I picked them up as I went along. So back in the day, I was more obsessive about finding every single one, because you can get this this staff that has the, I don't know if it's just Vivify or if it's Zing, you know, Zing or Kazing, but it revives, so you could have like one of your non-magic users have it just in case or whatever. But I never went for it. It's like 90 of the mini medals, so I probably had like 50 or something by the end of the game, so I wasn't going to go after all the other ones. But that's another really cool added layer of depth to this game, is you finding these mini medals or whatever, so that's really cool. There's a bunch of like monster medals now. If you get them all, you can like do an extra final dungeon. I wasn't going to do that. That's like the chip collecting in fucking Mega Man Battle Network or whatever. Like, you know, to fight the, you know, end game boss, or like the post game bosses there. And I'm just like, nah, I'm good. I don't usually do the post-game content on these Dragon Quest games. Maybe I should, because, like, you know, now that I'm replaying them or whatever, but maybe it'll give me a reason to come back to them in the future or whatnot. I did the post-game content on 8, and that's about it, really. A lot of that stuff takes, like, more advanced planning out of your party and stuff, and more advanced grinding and this and that, so I don't know. Maybe I'll, like, really get hardcore into all that one day, but... So, yeah, but the spells and stuff, they've added a lot of spells, a lot more, like, I mean, there are a lot of the old ones from the old games, like, but they've added a lot more, in that, like, the Heal Us ability, is now, I don't think, maybe that was in Dragon Quest 2? I'm not sure. I don't believe it was, though, and then your hero, once you get to a certain level, you learn Heal Us All, which heals everyone fully, but it's, like, worth, like, 1,000,000, MP, so it's like 64 or something you gotta spend on it. My hero only had like 100 and such MP by the end of the game, so, but it's cool. It's a cool ability that you can learn if you like are really in a pinch. There's the sacrifice ability too, which is like Kerplunk, where it just like you sacrifice yourself and everyone else gets revived and full health or whatever, so that's really cool. So a lot of cool new moves like that, a lot of new battle spells, and twin hits is a thing now. I don't know if they had that in Dragon Quest 2, but it's kind of the oomph spell, where it'll double the attack of the whoever you put it on. So I put it on my hero and my my fighter, or my warrior class there, like especially in the final battles and stuff. But the final boss, Zoma, actually has a disruptive wave, like most of the other final bosses in the series, where it, like, annoyingly takes off all of your good status stuff. Oh, you know what? Oh my god. Why am I such an idiot? I never put defensive, fucking magic on my guys. I just sapped him. That was probably my problem. I could have fucking... Oh my god. That's such bullshit. And in this game, actually, the defensive stuff, unless they use a disruptor wave or whatever, actually sticks for the whole battle. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. That's why I was having such a trouble with the final... I wasn't having that much trouble with him, but like he just takes so many hits. Actually, when I beat the final boss, a bunch of times I was like really trying and like really paying attention. But this time I was just kind of like zoning out, using the Sage Rock, you know, every turn and this and that. And I'm like, okay, and blah, 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 going through. And then it's just like, oh, hey, he's dead. Oh, he's dead! What? I beat the game! Like, you know, I just started freaking out. Like, oh my god, I did it! Like, he's just dead out of nowhere. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess I beat him. Shit, like, fuck. That's pretty cool, though. But anyway, so yeah, a lot of new cool spells that really innovate the gameplay and just increase everything and make it all better, you know, and that's really the essence of this game, is just it expands upon everything from the old games. It just makes it all better. So yeah, so you got innovative party system, new spells and new abilities and stuff, new classes obviously, which is great. That really expands everything. Lots of new monsters. I mean, there's so many new monsters that would become staples later. And so yeah, that's cool. I think they had the liquid metal slime in the last game, but they're very frequent in Alifgard there, so that helps a lot when you're trying to you know, kill for experience or whatnot. They added Parcheesi or whatever, the fucking like board game thing. To this game, you get these like tokens everywhere, and so you go on this board, and there's like all these different spaces and stuff, and some of them are like treasure spaces and give you really rare drops, and if you get through it, you get like a cool item. There's like 4 or 5 of these throughout the whole world or whatever, so that's really cool. It's a little nice mini game distraction, and you can only send one character in at a time. But really neat stuff. Like, they never had anything like that in Dragon Quest 2. They had, like, the slot machine game, which was, like, nothing like that. But it's like another little distraction mini-game kind of thing. That's cool. They added monster arenas, so you can, like, bet money on the monsters and who you think is going to win and this and that, and, like, double your earnings to, like, make money fast. I kind of forgot about those, honestly. But, yeah, that's a thing in this game. I used to do that when I was a kid to kind of make some money earlier on in the game. There's one that I used, but there are a few places in the game. That's pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of stuff like that. Okay, so yeah, they have that. I think that the story and stuff is more well developed. Like, you're on a quest to go, you know, take out Baramos and Zoma, and you're always kind of in the way of going and doing this. There's actually a part kind of later on in the game where you reach this town and you get your dad's helmet that he left behind, and like everyone there kind of reveres you and thinks that you're your father, and that you're this hero, and then eventually they give you the helmet and stuff. It's pretty cool. So yeah, there's a lot of like little lore things like that around. And you're always kind of in your dad's shadow, like trying to live up to his legacy. And eventually you kind of do. Obviously you get to defeat Baramos and then Zoma, and you become the legendary hero Loto. But the thing is, like, when you go down to the world of darkness, which becomes like the world of light or whatever, after you defeat Zoma, you get trapped there, and then you pretty much live out the rest of your days there. So you can't go back to your family and your previous life and in the other world and all of that. So that's kind of like, that's interesting. That's neat. But yeah. So, you know, you start off and you go along, and the first like part of the quest is like pretty linear. The game is like more linear than the other two, I would say. there's not really a lot of explorative elements until like later when you get the boat, and then even then it's like not entirely explorative. There is a certain section that's sort of explorative. So a lot of the first part of the game, especially until you get to the boat, is pretty linear. And then when you get to the boat, there is another version sort of the orb quest, or the seal, sorry, this is the orb quest. The seal quest from Dragon Quest II, where you need to go and collect these orbs from different areas. And they're all over the place. And one of them is like in this town that you have to like go, this like random spot on the map that's like a clearing or whatever. You have to go there and talk to this guy and leave a dealer there, and then your dealer starts this whole town, and their name becomes the name of the town and stuff. And it's really cool. It's like a really cool like sort of side little story thing there. That's actually the last orb that I got, because like it just took forever for the town to develop or whatever, and then I didn't realize I had to go there at night to see my dealer lady in the jail, and then go and get the orb. I didn't realize I had to be there at night, so that kept fucking me up on that thing. So yeah, but that's a cool little quest or side quest thing. It's not really a side quest because you actually have to do it, but it is a side quest to the main quest of you going and starting this town with your like dealer character or whatever. That's really neat. So yeah, just stuff like that. There's all sorts of towns and stuff, but at that point, it becomes a little more non-linear, and you kind of get to go around and explore a little bit more, and find these orbs or whatnot, and you can kind of do them in what order you want to, and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. There's a lot less like warp points as there was in like Dragon Quest 2, because finally, as I mentioned in the Dragon Quest II video, they have added the return spell, which lets you go back to any town you've already been to. So that's awesome. So you can just like go through a list of all of the towns that you've been to and then return to that place, which is great. So yeah, there you go. That helps a lot, and they would keep that for the rest of the games. And that's so much better than having to sail everywhere. So that's awesome. I like that a lot. And yeah, so, but you know, the quest itself, pretty typical Dragon Quest quest. You go around, you help a lot of people, that kind of stuff. Go through a bunch of dungeons. The dungeons are pretty good here. They're a little lengthier, I would say, than the Dragon Quest II dungeons, but they're still not to the point where it's like annoying lengthy. I would say they're still well paced enough. Some of them get a little eccentric, but I can't really think of many that do. I mean, like the one from Dragon Quest II at the very end was like really long, so I mean that probably takes the cake in terms of all of them. But yeah, there were reasonably enough length of dungeons. They provide a good enough challenge. I feel like this game is challenging, but it's not like super hard. And it'd probably be a lot easier if I had like done the class system and whatnot, but also not, because then you go back to level, 1 or whatever. I don't know. But that can also help mitigate a lot of the damage and stuff if you're like building up the right stats and whatever. So I don't know. That whole system is great, but it's slightly flawed, I guess. I don't know. It's a good system, but going back to level 1 is just it's tough to do. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's really, like as much as I like used to build it up as like this super long game, it's pretty long in comparison to the other two, but it's not like super long. I think it's still like reasonably long. It's probably like a 40-ish hour game, as far as I can kind of gauge, because it doesn't give you a count at the end of the game there. So that's kind of annoying. I wish it would have gave me a count there, but not so. Yeah, this is actually later on. You actually get to invoke the goddess bird too, which you get to later use again in Dragon Quest VIII. So that's pretty cool. That's a little thing there. That's kind of neat, and that a lot of the classic Dragon Quest themes are from this game too, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so there's just like a bunch of like quests that you it's kind of a lot like Dragon Quest IX, where you go to a bunch of different towns and help. But a lot of these feel more connected. The Dragon Quest IX ones didn't really feel connected or whatnot. But there's like a king who lost his crown, so you have to like go and fight this thief at this tower, who's actually a reoccurring boss and character, that thief, and you'll find him a bunch of times later, and then you actually find him in the Aleph Guard like way later on, and he's in jail or whatever. So that's kind of interesting. You get back the crown, and actually you can be the king or the queen in my case of that town. And then, like, the king will, like, retire, and you have to, like, go and make him be the king again. But you can just go there and be the king whenever you want to be. And it doesn't really do anything, but you can be that, so that's kind of cool. So, yeah. Then you have to help a sleeping village wake up. You get this wake-up powder by doing this, like, thing. You get to go to a village of elves and, like, go through that. You find this magic key in this pyramid. I always remember that pyramid level. That one's kind of annoying too, because in the basement, at least, of that area, you can't use spells, which is really annoying. And there's like a really weird puzzle there where you have to hit these switches in this like specific order, and like it's like just a pain to figure out, because then you fall through a hole every time, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's a pretty challenging early game dungeon. After you do the pyramid, you do this whole quest for this black pepper, which you give to this king. And then you get the boat. Then you can go to the shrine where you can change your levels or whatever. Then you get the final key. Then you go fight the Orochi on this like Japan-shaped island or whatnot. You end up finding out that their leader is actually the Orochi, like the, you know, like 5 or 6-headed dragon or whatever. And you have to fight that, and that's pretty cool. You have to fight it a few times. Pretty neat quest there. You find the Echo Flute, and then you start going to all these places to find the orb. You go to, like, this pirate house, and the center of the earth, and the new town one I talked about already. There's a change staff, which, like, I barely used in this run-through, but you can use it to, like, go to the elves and stuff, and, like, buy stuff from them. Like, turn yourself into an elf, or you can turn yourself into a whole bunch of stuff. It's pretty cool. But you have to trade it in order to get one of the orbs, which is what I did, so... But there's a whole side quest for that. You have to go kill his boss troll or whatever. There's a phantom ship, which is a thing that, like... Well, like, Wind Waker used that later on. I don't know if that's, like a myth or something that, like, they've reused for this or something. Yeah, and then you get the Gaia Sword, and you go throw it into this volcano. You get to go inside the volcano, and then that like leads you to sort of like you get the silver orb from this guy in this shrine, like past there. It's like what you would think of as the end game area, like the Rhone from Dragon Quest II, where it's all like iced over and stuff. But you can't actually reach the Baramos' castle until you get the final orb, and then assemble them all at this one place to get the goddess bird so you can fly there. But then you get to fight Baramos and go through his castle, and then you think, oh hey, it's the end of the game or whatever, right? Nope, not at all. Then you go to Aleph Guard, and you can go around to all of the places from Dragon Quest 1, and you kind of do a weird, like, rearranged version of the finding the stuff to make the rainbow drop, to make the bridge from Dragon Quest 1. Why you can't just sail to the castle, I don't remember. I think it's surrounded or something by mountains, just so you can't sail there or whatnot. That way you can't just bypass it or whatnot and go straight for the castle like you could in Dragon Quest 1 and 2. Well, you can't do it in Dragon Quest 1, but you can do it in Dragon Quest 2. Yeah, and then you get to Zoma's castle, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it doesn't sound like a long game, but it is a lot longer than that because you have to do a significant amount of grinding and you know, grinding to get your levels up and grinding to get money to buy the items and stuff. And, you know, you're feeding for a party of 4 here this time, so, you know, a lot more. But yeah, so that's cool. But overall, it's just like a really good Dragon Quest game, and especially for an early Dragon Quest game, it's just the most well-refined of the early Dragon Quest games, and it's got the most variety in the gameplay and stuff. Like, graphically, the Game Boy Color version is like really looks nice. It's like the perfect 8-bit looking game. It's just really well looking, and the animations are good and all that kind of stuff. And I just like the aesthetic of the design of the world there. It's very unique and Dragon Quest-y, but like I like all the enemies and stuff too. They're pretty great. So yeah, it's just a really good version of it. It's just a really good expansion and version of a Dragon Quest game. Of course, the music is fantastic, like always. It's just, yeah, they use all the classic themes, then they start a bunch of newer themes of their own, and just kind of really go for it. So, you know, you got all the dungeon theme and the battle music and all of that stuff, and the main theme. You know, you gotta have that. So, yeah, and it's really just great. It just keeps you going the whole time. A lot of cool new stuff. A lot of great items. A lot of really neat dungeons, and just all sorts of great stuff to be. A lot of good stuff going on here. Just a lot of good stuff. It's just really good stuff. It's a Orgasmo reference if you ever seen that movie, you know. So, yeah, just a lot of good stuff going on though. Seriously, really great and innovative Dragon Quest game. It's definitely beefy, and you're definitely gonna get your money's worth out of it. So I definitely recommend the Game Boy Color version if you want to get that or emulate that or whatever. The iOS version, you know, it's the only problem is the the aesthetic or whatever. It's just kind of odd, and there's like the weird frame issue thing or whatever. It's like just the way it like movement looks and stuff. It's just like I don't know about that. So if you want to get the mobile version, I mean, I guess you can. That's a way to do it. But I would definitely recommend the Game Boy Color version because it's the best version as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's just a really fantastic Dragon Quest game. And because you get to make your own party, it's very personable, and I like that. I like how you're going on the quest and you get to be the legendary hero. I think that's fantastic. I just really love everything about it. And I love all the new stuff. Oh yeah, there's books that like can change your personality type or whatever. I didn't mention that when I was talking about the personality types. There's like just a bunch of new items and stuff. I just think that's all really great. The new weapons and stuff. It's really cool. I love it. A lot of more variety than the second game. It's just everything, like I said, has been expanded upon, and it's just really a natural evolution to the series, and I think that's fantastic. And it's one of the only ones where you actually get to make your own party and customize that, and I think there's good elements to that and bad elements to that. Like, you don't really get to do certain like characters or any. There's not really characters, you know, but it's like still I like the feel that my party is me and my friends going on this adventure, you know. There's something cool about that. But anyway, so yeah, I like all that. Love the music. The aesthetic, obviously, like I said, is great. For me, this is just one of the classic primo Dragon Quest games. So yeah, just a fantastic game, and I'm gonna give it a 9.2 out of 10 because I love it, and there's just so much good stuff. A lot of good stuff going on there, you know. So, but yeah, the perfect end to the Erdrick and the Loto trilogy there, and the best game of those 3 games, and one of the best Dragon Quest games in general, I guess. So there you go. High praise for Dragon Quest 3. 9.2 out of 10. Till next time, this has been JZNES, and keep it classic. Stick around for more reviews, underrated games, and I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ out.